Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year. Hope everyone is doing well. This is going to be episode 1. Start the new year, we'll start with a new episode. We're going to look at the wins for President Trump in his first year. They're pretty substantial. Just in general, he has about an 80% success rate in taking emergency actions to the Supreme Court through their shadow dockets. Let's go with his cabinet nominations. That started with Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins. Attorney General was originally going to start off as Matt Gaetz, but that's ended. Pam Bondi was the choice. That was the second round. That was only one of his pull downs that he I knew when he announced them that Gaetz was going to be a problem. Howard Lutnick, he was, I made a mistake here, Secretary of Commerce. Pete Haggis, Secretary of Defense. Linda McCahon, Secretary of Education. Chris Wright, who I said would get really, really hard in being selected. And actually, he won 59-38. Robert Kennedy, of course, we saw what they put him through. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Scott Turner. He is Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum. He got one of the highest approval ratings, other than Marco Rubio. Lori Chavez DeRemer, Secretary of Labor. Marco Rubio, who got a perfect score, 99. They all approved him for Secretary of State, which was a great choice. Sean Duffy, for the Department of Transportation. He had a very rough start. If you remember, we had our first plane incident in Washington, D.C., between a military aircraft and a military helicopter, which was very tragic. Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, who a lot of people didn't like, but he did very well on the approval rating. And Doug Collins, Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And that was his immediate cabinet, immediate administrations. And that was a real, and Doug Collins, Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And that was a slugfest through the Senate. Except for Rubio, everyone else really had a very, very hard time with the Democrats. Democrats did everything they could to try to sway the general public that all these people were bad. Now, January 20th, during his inauguration and after. President Trump issued numerous executive orders focusing on national security, immigration, government reform, DEI hiring, and social issues. Of course, the border, and terminating DEI programs, defining sex as biological in federal policy, which is important, you know, and addressing foreign policy and energy. He rescinded many, many prior executive orders, which is his right as president. He can do that. Directing federal agencies to more align themselves with America first, pausing foreign aid, and addressing gender ideology within the government. So, his tops were, trying to keep this in order, and I did a lousy job of it. Border security and immigration, securing our borders, protecting against invasion. 30 million people, yeah, I call that an invasion. Early action focused on national security, border control, and protecting against foreign threats. Designating cartels as foreign terrorist organization becomes key much later on in his administration. But already there, you knew where the president was going. I apologize, this 24-month cold I've had just won't go away. Modifying reciprocal tariffs, regulatory reforms, protecting American investors. And that was addressing foreign-owned proxy advisors. Energy, unleashing America's energy reserves, strengthening the electrical grid of America was very, very important to do. Our grid system is in horrible shape. And really, it should be a security concern. Education and social policy, defending women from gender ideology extremism, and restoring biological truth in the government. You're born a boy, a male, you're born a girl, a female, that's what you are. The government doesn't recognize any other biological reference to a person, male and female. He ended the DEI programs, removing programs promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, which the government kind of and weaved into as somehow that was law. That was never the law. It actually went counter to the law. Advancing AI education and skills training for future jobs. Even though he did away with the Department of Education, which, it wasn't about the Department of Education, it was indoctrination into crazy, gay, lesbian agendas in education, where that's fine. Do it at home. Do it at home. School is not the place to be saying, yes, being gay is normal, or being transgender is being normal. It's not normal. You could do it, you could have it, but it stays out of the schools. Save that for home. Science and technology. The Genesis mission, space exploration and technology, American space superiority. Yeah, well, we always want to be number one, and nothing wrong with that. Government operations, Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. and federal hiring, ensuring accountability in the federal hiring process. Meaning, are you qualified to do the work? Are you educated? Skills and ability. Now, I'm going to read this backwards because it was really the only way I could list it. And these are executive orders. And the last one I have is December 18th. Executive Order 14371. And that is providing the closure of executive departments and agencies and federal governments on December 24th through the 26th. So 25th was always off, but 3 days. Executive Order 14370, increasing medical marijuana and cannabis research. So, more research and more government looks at is medical marijuana doing what it should be doing, and is there research going on that can prove it or disprove it? The big problem with marijuana today, the legal marijuana, it is all regulated, but you could still buy cheap marijuana in the street because it's cheaper than government marijuana or legal marijuana. With legal marijuana, at least you know that the potency, and it's not made with pesticides, and it's not laced with anything. My problem is this: if the government's going to recognize legalized pot, then they have to allow it through the federal banking system. End of story. So, right now it's not, and that causes a whole bunch of problems. So, all right. Executive Order 14369, ensuring American space superiority. Executive Order 368. Adjustments of certain rates of pay. So, again, that means that equal. Fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. That's 14367. Now, if I miss some of these, please point them out to me. I think President Trump signed 211. We're going to go through them. 14366. American investors, protecting them from foreign-owned and politically motivated proxy advisors. So, 14365, ensuring a national policy framework for AI. And a lot of this stuff is very wordy. If you go and look it up and what it means, and some of these executive orders supersede some of his other orders or modifies or amends his other orders, but a lot of these supersede other presidents, and I'm not just Democrats, but Republicans. Okay. 14364, addressing security risks from price fixing and anti-competitive behavior in the food supply. Now, this one's going to be coming up because there's lots of talk about people controlling food prices. And how they were able to do it. 14363, launching the Genesis mission, which I talked about. 14362, designated of certain Muslim Brotherhood chapters as foreign terrorist organizations and specifically designated global terrorists. becomes interesting. 14,361. Modifying the scope of tariffs on the governments of Brazil. So remember I said some of these clarify some other ones that were done earlier. 14,360, modifying the scope of reciprocal tariffs with respect to certain agricultural products. 14,359, fostering the future for American children and families. 14,358, modifying reciprocal tariff rates consistent with economic and trade agreements between the United States and the People's Republic of China. Again, as I stated, some of these will supersede ones that I'm going to be talking about. I don't have them listed as such because it would be 158 pages. Executive Order 357. All right. Modifying duties addressing the synthetic opioid supply chain from the People's Republic of China. China is one of the largest producers of fentanyl and the products to make them. Also meth and a bunch of other products. 14,356, ensuring continued accountability in federal hiring. Yeah, you're going to hire someone, we want accountability that they can do the job. 14,355, unlocking cures for pediatric cancers with artificial intelligence, using AI as a tool in treating pediatric cancer. You wouldn't think that you need an executive order to do that, but what it does is it allows pharmaceuticals the ability to do research using AI in treating cancer, where we had to use like stem cells. Now you can artificially create them in an AI model and see how they react. So, because that's why you stopped hearing so much about stem cell research. Because once you had the stem cell and you had its formula and DNA and string, you could figure everything else out. You didn't need that anymore. So, 14,354, certain federal, continuance of certain federal advisory committees. So if you were setting up committees and they had a date to expire on a certain time, this continues it. And if you look that up, and that's 14,354, you could find out exactly what those committees are and who's on them and their dates and now the new effective dates. 14,353, assuring the security of the state of Qatar. That was a big one because after the attack on them, they needed some assurance from the United States that anyone attacking them is going to have to answer to the United States. So no freewheeling from Israel, no freewheeling from Saudi Arabia, no freewheeling from Iran, or you'll be answering to us. 14,352, saving TikTok while protecting national security. And again, the TikTok thing is just so deeply entwined into the Chinese intelligence. But so is every one of these other platforms. Are all part of government agencies collecting data. Anyone that says it's not does not understand what's going on. That goes for YouTube, platform I'm on, all the way through any of these other channels, TikTok. How better of a spy agency that you don't need spies? People voluntarily say what they're going to say. It's pretty amazing stuff. The gold card, and that's 14,351. That was the president's answer to getting people to register and to come into the United States. You paid your way to do it. Never liked that idea, but it's there. All right. Executive Order 14,350. That was signed in September 16, 2025. I should be giving dates with these. Further extending TikTok enforcement delay. So where that went from September 16th back up to September 25th. Remember, I'm reading these backwards. 14,349. Also done September 16th, establishing an emergency board to investigate disputes between the Long Island Railroad Company and certain employees represented by certain labor organizations. Now, you remember Joe Biden giving his executive decision on the railroad strike and ordering the workers back to their job and acceptance of the agreement, which was a big strike against him, Biden, as being anti-union. Now, Long Island Railroad has had a long history of not bargaining in good faith. Now, the idea is that the Long Island Railroad is not a company, it's the MTA. And it's another government platform. So it's a government dealing with a union, but they call themselves the MTA. It's all government. So, September 5th, Executive Order 14,348, strengthening efforts to protect the U.S. nationals from wrongful detentions abroad. And I mean, and there's not much you can do about that once you're locked up, but you can say that if they're locked up and that government won't give what the charges are, we're just holding them, well, maybe, you know, those computers you wanted and those chips and maybe your exports just won't be accepted here, or we will not send them to you. So it adds a little weight to what the government can do, and that would be the State Department. That would be Marco Rubio. All right, September 5th, Executive Order 14,347, restoring the United States Department of War. So, not a big deal, but it was always the Department of War in the past. And they decided that would be good to have those words back in there. Department of War. Not a biggie to me. September 5th, modifying, this is 14,346. Modifying the scope of reciprocal tariffs and establishing procedures for implementing trade and security agreements. So again, this goes back to modify things that was done earlier. September 4th, 14,345 Executive Order, implementing United States-Japan Agreement. 14,344, August 28th, making federal architecture beautiful again. I'm going to knock down the West Wing. So, I give myself the order that I can do it. Basically. August 28th, also, Executive Order 14,344. Further exclusions from the Federal Labor Management Relations Program. So he was dismantling that agency and replacing the heads with who he wants to replace them with, or just eliminating their positions altogether, which he was allowed to do. He was taken to court on that. 14342 on August 25th, taking steps to end cashless bail in a means to protect Americans. So 14341 signed on August 25th. Prosecuting burning of the American flag. Now remember, burning of the American flag was seen as being constitutionally allowed. As a freedom of expression. And it is my belief that this particular item, when someone gets charged with burning the flag, is, being able to prosecute them, will end up with the robes, and the robes will say, can't do that. Now, just because the president signs an executive order, until such time as the law is challenged, or that act is challenged, the Supreme Court can't do anything about it. They can't go, hey, you can't do that. No, they have to be challenged. And then they'll look, if it warrants them looking at it. If it's some decision they go, no, that was perfectly all right to do, they won't even hear it. And whatever lower court made an opinion on it, well, that's what's going to be the opinion. So, again, Executive Order 14340, measure to end cashless bail and enforce the law in the District of Columbia. Now, here in the District of Columbia, President, since it's not a state and whatever, it's a district, President has control of that. So he can go and, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. Here's my order. It's a lawful order from the President of the United States. As far as in the executive branch, 14339 signed also on August 25th. August 25th was a busy day for the president. Additional measures to address the crime emergency in the District of Columbia. And you could read up what each one of these were. I'm sure it was taking over the commissioner, the police commissioner, and all that, and saying, yeah, you have no say anymore. Your powers are suspended. Your job is there. You're going to get paid, but you have no decision making on the day-to-day running of the law enforcement agency. August 21st, 14338, improving our nations through better design. Couple of America the Beautiful. August 13th, Executive Order 14337. Revocation, so they're removing, of Executive Order on Competition, signed August 13th. Now, there could have been, and I think I did look this up, and it was putting the competitive, that it has to be competitive, on competition. It's, this one I will look back up. And that's Executive Order 14337. Bob, if you're watching, that's a good one for you to look up. Because that's taking it away from another president's signature, or even his own. Okay, 14,336, ensuring American pharmaceutical supply chains resilience by filling the strategic active pharmaceutical ingredients reserves. That's on August 13th also. Also on August 13th, Executive Order 14,335, enabling competition in the commercial space industry. Elon? Bezos. Whereas before, NASA did all that. Put the bids out to Boeing and anyone else, and now you have other companies that are strategically in better shape to compete. And honestly, that was only because the government funded McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, all these other big defense companies to build missiles and rockets and engines. And the super heavy lifting was already done and paid for by the government. And that information made available then to academia, who then grabbed it and said, hey, we got a better way of doing this. And we got a cheaper means, and we have a more efficient method. And Elon, again. Okay. 14,334 on August 11th. Further modifying tariffs to reflect ongoing discussions with the People's Republic of China. So what he was doing was giving the State Department, go ahead, you know what I want. Okay, we can deal a little on here and talk with them. We're not going to say no right off the bat. So, all right, 14,333, August 11th, declaring a crime emergency in the District of Columbia. Now remember, I'm working backwards. So all my other ones up to there lead up to this. So that was on August 11th. 14,332, improving oversight of federal grant making. So that had to do with Doge. 14,331, guaranteeing fair banking for all Americans. August 7th. Now, believe it or not, who jumped on board with all this was the representative from Warren. Elizabeth Warren, was she Massachusetts? Or Vermont? No, she's not Vermont. New Hampshire. Wherever she is, I forget. She hasn't been in the news lately. They've been telling her to shut up. But she was for that. She was always big with the banking. Rules. To the point that banks couldn't be banks anymore. All right. 14,330. Access to alternate assets for 401 investors. So making it democratic, meaning that you could have say on how your 401k is governed. I don't know too much about that because I was never in a locked-in 401k program. My program that I had at work allowed me to self-invest inside it. Instead of using them, I could take the risk. I had to understand that the risk was all mine to take and to lose, which I did lose. So that was that one. Now, a lot of those 401ks, then they had to change their bylaws and how that works, and it's still a big legal mumbo jumbo of words. Okay, 14329, addressing threats to the United States by the government of the Russian Federation. That was signed on August 6th. So that was, again, Russia. Remember, Trump's a Russian agent, yet he's signing legislations to thwart them. 14328, establishing the White House task force on the 2028 Summer Olympics. I don't know. 14327, President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition, and the reestablishment of the Presidential Fitness Test. Remember, JFK did that. It was the fitness challenge. We all did it in grammar school and junior high and high school. And there were certain levels of achievement you had to do in gym class. 20 push-ups, 30 sit-ups, how many squats, lateral movement, jumping jacks. And that's why when I was younger, there weren't a lot of fatties. There weren't a lot of fatties. There weren't a lot of fatty guys. There weren't a lot of fatty girls. Just making an observation, folks. 14326 on July 31st. That was also July 31st. Modifying the reciprocal tariff rates. So again, with the tariffs, these are all things that he has the power that as president. And remember, he set forth that, he's declaring a national emergency, and as such, he can do these things, and that was challenged, and he can do it under the executive branch. 14325, amendment to duties to address the flow of illicit drugs across our northern border. Remember, he was fighting with Canada? You're not doing enough. China's sending in crap, and you're sending it across the border. You're not stopping it. So because of that, we're going to tariff you. That's how it starts. Suspending duty-free de minimis treatment for all countries. That's, you go to the airport, and that's 14324. You go to the airport, and you can buy, duty-free and stuff. I'm going to leave the 14 out of and just say 323, addressing threats to the United States by the government of Brazil. That was July 30th. 322, signed on July 24th, saving college sports. 321, July 24th, also ending crime and disorder on American streets. 320, promoting the export of American AI technology stack. Now that's an interesting one, because that's where companies can send out AI to other countries to do for us. I don't think that's a very wise idea. All right. Also in July, what did I do? I skipped over a few, but we'll find them. One was to do with accelerating accelerating federal permitting of data center infrastructures. Yeah, that's spying on you. And I'm going to say that was Executive Order 319. Somewhere I lost 18. I'll find out why. Creating Schedule G in the accepted services. I don't know what that means. Signed on July 17th. That was 17. 316, extending the modifications of the reciprocal tariff rates. 315, ending market distorting subsidies for unreliable foreign-controlled energy sources. That was on July 7th, and that was also up there. 316 was also July 7th. July 3rd, making America beautiful again by improving our national parks. That was 314. 313 on July 3rd, establishing the President Makes America Beautiful Again Commission. Remember, we're talking about Make America Beautiful. 312 on June 30th, providing for the revocation of Syrian sanctions. So we said, Syria, you're not a problem anymore. We kind of forgive you. Establishing a White House for special peace missions, 311 on June 30th. June 19th, Executive Order 310. Remember, there's 14 in front of that. Further extending TikTok enforcement delay. So TikTok, is up there. 309, implementing the general terms of the United States of America, United Kingdom Economic Prosperity Deal. 308 on June 12th, empowering common sense wildfire prevention and response. That was directly to Mayor Bass, the moron, LA mayor. All right, 307, June 6th, unleashing American drone dominance. I don't know. What do you think that means? I don't know. 306, sustaining select efforts to strengthen the nation's cybersecurity and amending Executive Order 13694 and Executive Order 14144. So these were all to punish Biden. Restoring Americans' airspace sovereignty. That was Executive Order 305, signed on June 6th also, all on June 6th, leading the world in supersonic flight. All right. Well, by making those executive orders, you can accelerate certain programs that are controlled by the military, controlled, in contracts to go, speed it up, let's go. You need more money, we'll get you more money. May 23rd, Executive Order 303, restoring the gold standard in science. Look it up what it means, folks. I ain't going to tell you. All right. Reinvigorating the nuclear industrial base. That was Executive Order 302, May 23rd. Also, busy day for the president. Executive Order 301, reforming nuclear reactor testing at the Department of Energy, May 23rd. So, let's get moving on nuclear reactors now, right? Executive Order 300, ordering the reform of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, all on May 23rd. May 23rd again, Executive Order 299. Deploying advanced nuclear reactor technologies for national security. Now, see, this is an interesting one, and I said it back in one of my May shows, that this executive order is saying build small nuclear reactors like we have on submarines. Enough to power small cities and regions and towns, so that if we are hit with cyber attacks on our grid and our grid does fail, that we can quickly, through the military, start restoring services as quickly as possible. We don't need fossil fuel to do it. We can just do it. Find a lake, put pipes in it, circulate the water, and we have these nuclear reactors like we have on submarines that can generate a lot of power quickly, cost effectively, and safely. So that's a big one. That's a big one. And again, on May 12th, Executive Order 298, modifying reciprocal tariffs to reflect discussions with the People's Republic of China. Done a lot of talk with China, right? That's kind of fallen by the wayside. I'm almost not even close to being halfway done with this. 429, I'm sorry, 297, Executive Order, delivering the most favored nation's prescription drug pricing to American patients. That was on May 12th. May 9th, Executive Order 296, keeping promise to veterans and establishing a national center for warrior independence. We don't do shit for our veterans. Having these things, a promise, and doing this, and you really want to do it right? You're a veteran, you go to any hospital. You don't need to go to a VA hospital. We don't have to have that redundancy. The hospital is given a rate card, and this is what you got to do. If you want federal funding, this is what you got to do. And our VAs can go to any hospital to get treatment. That's the way it should be done. Executive Order 295, increasing efficiency at the Office of Federal Registry. That was on May 9th. May 9th, fighting over-criminalization in federal regulations. Yeah, this was, in some of the laws, it's a crime committing a crime, and so we can add on more as we go along. And what this was saying, under the federal, charge him with a crime, find the crime, you charge him. You can't think, well, because you broke that one, you broke 19 other ones that were here, but you really didn't do it, but they apply. So the old, take as much stuff, throw it on the wall and see what sticks. So Trump is saying, can't do that. Again, 293, regulatory relief to promote domestic production of critical medicines. And that was on May 5th, signed. And that was to give pharmaceuticals to go ahead and how can you make these drugs here? Do it better. 292 on May 5th. Improving the safety and security of biological research. We don't want another COVID, right? So, and it doesn't say in the United States. It says improving the safety and security of biological research. So if we have a research facility in, I don't know, India, that we're going to make sure with our money that that's secured, or China, or anywhere else other than America. That's what that means. All right, 291, establishment of the Religious Liberty Commission, May 1st. Ending taxpayers' subsidization of biased media, 290. NPR, PBS, you're not getting funding anymore. Yep, that's what that meant. All right. 289, addressing certain tariffs on imported articles. That's about clothing. That was April 29th. Executive Order 288, strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. It's called ICE, baby. 287, protecting American communities from criminal aliens, April 28th. Guess what that is, baby? ICE. Enforcing common sense rules of the road for American truck drivers, April 28th. California issuing driver's license to any illegal that just stepped up to the counter. Or anyone. No test. Oh, you didn't have to understand English. You didn't know how to recognize a sign, merging, pedestrian, right? Executive Order 285, unleashing America's offshore critical minerals and resources. Drill, baby, drill. Dig, baby, dig. That was on April 24th. April 24th, strengthening. Got a little word stumble there. Probationary periods in federal services. So, meaning if it was a 90-day probation and that agency wants to now change it to whatever they feel is appropriate, go ahead. Because most federal agencies have a 2-year probation, if I remember right. Executive Order 2083, White House initiatives to promote excellence and innovation at historical black colleges and universities. That's on April 23rd. Transparency regarding foreign influence at American universities, 285, also signed on April 23rd. Restoring equality of opportunity, April 23rd. That's Executive Order 281. Reinstating common sense school discipline policies, 280, signed April 23rd. April 23rd also, Executive Order 279, reforming accreditation to strengthen higher education. Also on April 23rd, 278, preparing Americans for high-paying skilled trade jobs of the future. Now, is that going to pay for services like BOCES, Board of Cooperative Educational Services? So, I do have to answer this one. This is yes, Mr. President. I know I questioned you on some of these, and I told you I would. All right. Advancing artificial intelligence education for the American youth. That was also on April 23rd, and that was Executive Order 277. Remember, there's a 14 in front of all these. Executive Order 276, restoring American seafood competitiveness. Now, this is important because I live in South Carolina, and I go to the store, and we got offshore shrimp and everything. and the shrimp that they're getting from Thailand or Vietnam. There is no local. If I want local shrimp, I got to go to a gas station with a guy selling it out of an ice bucket. Because the local markets here, food chains, there are some that will go locally. I won't say everyone, but the foreign ones can compete so low that they'll sell it at a loss in this community and then sell it twice as high in the next community to offset that loss. Local guy can't do that. He doesn't have that type of power to do. So, okay, 275 on April 15th, restoring common sense to federal procurement. Yeah, a paper clip shouldn't cost $100. Okay? So, that's what that is. Also, April 15th, funny that it's tax day, restoring common sense to federal office space management. This is all part of Doge. It's all Doge language in here. Also on April 25th, lowering drug prices by once again putting America first, and that's Executive Order 273. 272, Executive, ensuring national security and economic resilience through Section 332 actions of processed critical minerals and derivative products, signed on April 15th. Ore, uranium, gold, lithium. Dig, baby, dig. Okay? All right, 271. Ensuring commercial, cost-effective solutions in federal contracts. Common sense. Executive Order 270, zero-based regulatory budgeting to unleash American energy. If you got to burn coal, burn coal. Keep the lights going, keep the houses warm. You need to drill for oil in government property. Drill. Restoring America's maritime dominance, 269, April 9th also signed. April 9th, 268, reforming foreign defense sales to improve speed and accountability. Not sure what that means. I remember it, but I don't remember what it was. April 9th, reducing anti-competitive regulatory barriers, 267. Now, through the tariffs, it might be cheaper to build it over here now. So how's it competitive over there? That's the only thing. These are all tariff-based things. Again, modifying reciprocal tariff rates to reflect trading partners' retaliation and alignment. April 9th, that's Executive Order 266. And that, how can you be my friend if you're working against me with a foreign power hurting my domestic economy? Friends don't do that to friends. That's what that means. Maybe you're not my friend. 265, modernizing defense acquisitions and spurring innovations in the defense industrial base. That's on the 9th. Build it better. use AI, modernize your assembly line. Remember, AI is going to cost jobs. And you say, well, the people are going to need to repair those AIs. Yeah, there's going to be very highly skilled people, but you're not going to need a lot of them. Because a lot of the machinery is going to be self-diagnostic. Replace part D. See blinking red light. Take that board out. Put the replacement board in. Press reset. Green lights. It's humming along again for another 2 years. So AI is going to take away what was considered semi-skilled jobs. AI will take away jobs in accounting. You could just shove paper through a scanner. It's all got to be filled out in, in the striped spaces and everything like that. And then it will go through and go, how could that happen over there when you said this happened over there? Whereas before you might have needed 6 accountants to be looking at that, or federal IRS people to do that. And now you could have a computer do that. That's what that means. All right, I screwed some of these up here. So 65, 64, maintaining acceptable water pressure in shower heads, April 9th. That sounds to me like a Seinfeld episode, if I remember that. Was that from the water, I had no idea there was a lobbyist group for water pressure in shower heads. Who does that? Honey, how was your day at work? Should we use a 4-pinhole nozzle or a 12-pinhole nozzle? Getting that passed through Congress was it's going to be murder. I don't know. I want to look this one up. 263, I might do that right now. Assessing risk from Sussman Godfrey. I saw this and I was like, how did that one slip by me? I was trying to think of what I was doing April 9th. That I missed that. And I'm going to look that up right now in Google. Sussman Godfrey is a premier litigation firm. So the government was looking at, well, what risk are we at with that company? Had to have been a reason. And litigation would mean that the government did something wrong, or people in the government did something wrong, that there can be a suit against. All right, 262. Strengthening the reliability and security of the United States electric grid. That's on April 8th. April 8th. Reinvigorating America's beautiful clean coal industry and amending Executive Order 14241. So let me see what the 241 was. Immediate measures to increase America mineral production. So I'm going to just stop doing this because a lot of this is stuff that now has been discussed. But President Trump has signed 211 bills from January 20th. Oh, we're still not done with it. Most of these are all about businesses and DEI, so not too concerned with that. Supreme Court actions of 2025 with the president. In 2025, the Trump administration secured a high win rate in the Supreme Court, particularly on the emergency shadow docket. Through the specific definition of win varies by who's reporting it. All right. Overall, Supreme Court cases are full rulings as of November 2025. Says that out of at least 6 cases, Trump won 4 of them, and 2 went against him. So, what is that? 60%? Though the shadow rulings, the administration has been highly successful, noting that 20 rulings in favor, at least partially, some partially, some, yeah, you could do that, but what you said over here, you could do that? No, you can't do that. And 5 all out against the decision out of 25. So winning 20 out of 5 is 80%. A December 2005 analysis reports 19 wins, 2 partial wins, 5 losses out of 26. Another report noted an approximate 90% win rate for Trump on the emergency docket. That's, yes, if you took it as where I said the other ones were partials, if you said, well, that's still a win, yeah, he's 90%. It's pretty darn good. Major victories for the Trump administration in 2025 included significant expansion of presidential immunity for official acts and limitations on the ability of the lower court to issue nationwide injunctions against federal policies. The court did rule against the administration in some instances, such as keeping a lower court order in place that blocked the deployment of National Guard in Illinois. Now that one is still floating around because there's other ways to go. Several other pivotal cases involving Trump's administration policies, such as the power to unilaterally impose tariffs and end birthrights, are scheduled for arguments or further review in the 2026 term. Now, what that means is that some of those partial wins that I was talking about, but the 14th Amendment one, that's going to be a biggie. And again, I'm going to tell you, I think Trump's going to win it. I think Trump's going to win it. Now, let's look at DOGE, the success of DOGE. Workforce reductions. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees were either let go or chose to leave. And you heard stuff of how it impacted, it didn't impact anything. Because those agencies were already bloated. So you got rid of 30% of the staff, and some it was a lot more, but because you had 40% more people than you need to do the job. And dismantling entire agencies such as the Department of Education and parts of USAID. Yeah. One wasn't doing their job, and the other one was just funding NGOs that who knows where the money went. Not billions of dollars, trillions. Billions in contracts and grants were canceled. And they said, affecting small businesses, local providers, and international aid recipients. No, the local ones that were affected by that were NGOs that were, let's just take Stacey Abrams, who in Atlanta was given $1 billion to buy appliances for the poor. Basically, that's what it was. They're still asking for an accountability of that. You know, does a poor person in a trailer need a Viking stove or the most complicated and sophisticated washer and dryer? Or a $1,200 microwave oven, where you can go to Walmart and buy a great one for $229. So there's been a lot of questions asked, and where they say local suppliers, yeah. That local supplier was selling them stuff at $2,000 that they were buying for $400 from another company, having the bill set at $1,200, and people collecting money every step of the way. The amount of fraud taking place by these NGOs, and that I don't care if they're Republican or Democrats, because there's a lot of Republicans that run NGOs that have families in NGOs. All right. And there's people saying that Dodge reported significant savings, but these figures were disputed, with some analysts showing actual savings falling far short of the initial promise. But we are seeing today fraud like in Minnesota and Illinois. Illinois is now under the magnifying glass, are being exposed, and many more states have not been examined. NGOs are still being investigated, and the true extent of fraud is not known. It seems many Democrats are fighting the release of information, and the DOJ is taking steps to force the states to submit such data. The impact and criticism. Service disruptions exaggerated by the media. Cuts led to longer waits for Social Security that were temporary, as better safeguards were enacted to reduce fraud that was exposed by Doge. Increased reviews for taxpayer-funded international aid and NGOs' misuse of funds were a big takeaway. Democrats' allegations of potential threat to air travel safety were never realized. They just said it was a threat. You know, and if controllers didn't want to show up for work, why didn't they want to show up for work? If they were legitimately sick, you're sick. If you feel you're under pressure, and here's the problem. I'll tell you this from the labor side. When we had to defend someone going, I couldn't work like that. And you go, but last month you worked 60 hours. The next time you worked 110 hours. And this time you didn't want to work, and they said you had to, and because a lot of our work was, you had to stay. Couldn't walk out of a news program. Couldn't walk out of a sports program and go, up. Wasn't like the Flintstones where, the crow, and you jumped off of your dinosaur into your car. A lot of jobs you can't do that. You're told you got to stay. So it's very hard for the air traffic controllers to say, well, this week I was, last week I wasn't, and you see a pattern that this only happened during this thing. Was it because you were displeased, or was it that you were generally felt you were overworked? And I'll tell you right now, if I was in charge of them, I'd say, you feel you're overworked? All right. We're not going to work you so hard, and then we're going to start evaluating you. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe you have a problem. Maybe, can you do your job? It's a fair question to ask. Efficiency versus politics, and then this show's going to go on this is over an hour, and it probably will last another 45 minutes. Efficiency versus politics. Democrats argue DOGE achieved political aims, like reducing bureaucracy at the cost of efficiency, damaging institutions rather than streamlining them, while the administration demanded reviews and accounting of funds and distribution. Gee, asking what happened to the money? That's a bad thing. That's political? No. This is common sense stuff. Trump's a businessman. I want to know where the dollars are being spent. The agency's accounting methods were opaque, and its savings claims lacked independent verification, leading to widespread skepticism of DOGE. When DOGE asked for records from the IRS and other agencies to show verification, DOGE was stopped by motions made by the liberals and acted on by the courts that prevented the verification. So, yeah, I would like to show you the numbers, but I can't, because I can't get them. And in our experience, seeing these type of numbers mean that something's going on over here, and they go, well, that says you. And he goes, well, I want to show you where that is. And if it's not, it will prove itself out. And they wouldn't let him do it. Musk himself described the effort as only somewhat successful, acknowledging the difficulty and negative impact on his own business caused by the media and leftist groups who burned dealerships, vandalized his brand of cars and trucks, and tarnished the reputation of his company, which affected his stock. See, he wasn't protected from all that. And they went after him personally, the liberals and the Democrats. Schumer, Jeffries, Pelosi, Waters, being the most vocal on going after him. And during the election, you remember good old Governor Walz laughing that, oh, Tesla stock's going down. Good, yeah. And his state's retirement fund was leveraged with Tesla. And now we're looking at Walz today and looking at all the fraud that DOGE discovered. We look at Epstein. And we see all the lies of the Democrats. And that's all we're seeing. More and more lies of the Democrats. And Bob, I know you love the Democrats, and you will stand with the Democrats. I understand that. But can you admit that they went after Musk, and you feel that that's fair game, right? Now I'm speaking for Bob, and I really shouldn't, because I really didn't speak to Bob about this. But Bob, if you're listening, throw your 2 cents in. The Democrats' only lifeboat is Epstein. And it's really not a lifeboat. It's just some floating debris that's out there that will eventually sink. And when you all hold on to it, it just won't, it's not buoyant anymore. And Trump saying, well, let's release all this stuff to embarrass the Democrats. Now, I don't agree with that, and I said that in another podcast. I don't agree with that. And if you're forced to release it all, and chips land where the chips land. I think that'd be very hard-pressed for the Democrats, who are now facing a huge economic impact on donations. And you're going to go after the people that were big donators. Remember, a lot of these companies didn't care who was running. They just wanted to look at the numbers and go, this guy has a pretty good chance of winning. I want to make sure that I'm not impacted badly by the winner. So we think that, Trump stood a pretty good chance. They thought Biden stood a pretty good chance. Gave Biden billions in money that went, who knows. And, that went down the tubes, and, and they had taken a lot of heat, and they're going, holy crap. We're not doing this again. We're not going to support Democrats. We'll give you something, but we're not handing out millions. You lied to us. And I say again, what was it, July 21st? Harris was out in California. Biden's going to run. This is the guy. This is the guy that can defeat Trump. We're in for a second term. We need to finish the job. We need a second term to finish the job. And I think she collected, I want to say it was like $300 million in a weekend. Only to find out Sunday morning, Biden resigned from the nomination, from the race. After all these companies gave money. And I don't think the Democrats stand a real chance. In a lot of states, the blue states will kind of stay blue. Some of these borderline states, they're going to turn red. My prediction is the houses will grow red. And in 2026, 27 and 28 will be unbelievable. Trump will move like a boulder coming down a mountain, just smashing anything that gets in its way. And Democrats, you created the situation. You failed to take into the look on the average American. And you tried to, as much as you could, you took 10% of this country's citizens, and flooded them with illegals. With 10%, 330 million, you brought in 30 plus million illegals. Because you knew that the percentages were that close in voting. And you knew this was all about voting. And you underestimated the American voter. And you're going to underestimate them again in 2026. This year, this November, you're going to be stunned. And you're going to start seeing those numbers in May, in June, where, you know, you're going to see the typical Yahoo and some of these other crazy groups. You go, we polled, you know, it's going to be a runaway for the Democrats. It's going to be boom. Yeah. And then when it's not, what do you do? What do you do? All right, everyone. I am going to try to wrap this up as early as I can. I didn't want to stay on for an hour and a half, but I did stay on for an hour and a half. Everyone, be safe. Give to a charity if you can. Give to a food bank if you can. And with food banks, they need more than just food. Monetary donations are always appreciated. Help the veterans with a bona fide veteran agency, not, you know, some guy in front of a candy store and you'd never heard of them before. There are some super great veteran groups out there. And again, say a prayer. Prayer does work regardless of what a Democrat might tell you. And with that, I'm going to say, catch you all later. Unfortunately tonight, Socrates Station, our favorite restaurant in the world, restaurant bar, is closed. We were there for New Year's Eve. It was great. We had a wonderful time. I just had one drink and then soda, so I could drive home. If you live in South Carolina, if you live in the Myrtle Beach area, Socrates Station on 707 in Socrates. Great food, great location. Friendliest staff you'll ever find. Friendliest staff. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight, and I'll catch you all later as I fade to